Amen. Thank you. Good morning. Good morning. Here we go. Growing up, my mother would take us to Catholic church every week. I was even sent to Catholic school. I had no desire to be to either one. But I was not about to tell my Caribbean religious mother, I'm not going to church. That would not have a good ending. But my sisters seemed to enjoy it. That was pretty weird, but okay. When I got older, my cousin invited me to go to his church. Man, I felt rescued. So when I went to this church, I realized it was one of those churches I saw on TV. You know what, a preacher would pray for people and lay his hands on their heads and they pass out? I thought they would dream when they do that. I said, man, I want to try that. I was excited. So I got in line, got my head laid on. I didn't pass out. I didn't dream. I was disappointed. But I kept going. And I got more involved in the church. I started even joining the choir. I was an usher. I was a parking attendant. I even assisted the pastor in the things that he did. I tell you what, I thought I was the man out there. But as time went on, I had to realize something, that in my life outside of the church, I had some friends. Me and my friends, we would get into some things. We would start fights at school just because we wanted to. We would get involved with inappropriate relationships with girls. I would steal. I would lie. Even though I was underage, I would find my way into bars and clubs that I was not supposed to be in. I started to see myself become something that I did not want to be. I knew deep down it was wrong, but I did these things only to please the people that I was hanging out with. You know, these friends that I wanted to fit in with the crowd. A few years later in college, trying to figure things out, I met a family member's friend who was a girl, and we started dating, me and her. And it started out great. She even started coming to church with me. Then our relationship became a little bit more physical and impure. One night, after the church gathering, it happened again. On my way home, I felt really guilty about it. My heart was heavy. It was something that I did not want to keep doing, but I didn't know how to stop. As I was driving, I was in tears. I was frustrated with who I was. I decided to end my life. Driving at high speed, I turned the car towards the expressway wall. But just before I got to it, I turned back and went home. But while I was in bed, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about what was going on and how I was feeling. So I got up and started to pray. At first, it was just a soft prayer, but turned into a loud cry for help. My mom, who was sleeping in the back of the house, was awakened and came in asking, are you okay? What's going on? I told her I was fine and just went back to bed. But I didn't know if God heard me when I prayed. Sometime later on campus, I noticed some students, inviting people to Bible discussings or to church. Many people kept on walking and refused, and you know what? So did I. I thought these people were just way too committed. I remember a classmate sharing how she was studying the Bible with these people, as we're called, and they asked her to break up with her boyfriend. I was like, what's that? No, that's not necessary. You don't have to do that. You know what? I'm not going to do that. But then after a while, I ended up running into an old high school friend, and he eventually started asking me to come to one of these meetings. And I was like, oh, you're one of them. So I refused every single time. He was very persistent, though. So finally, he wore me down, and I actually went to one of these meetings. But tell you what, as soon as it was over, I was out of there. Weeks later, he caught me. This guy was very persistent. And he asked me to study the Bible. I said, oh, okay. This is a challenge. I got you now. So we sat down, and he opened the Bible to Matthew 28, verse 18 through 20. You know, where Jesus talks about making disciples, baptizing them, and teaching them. And then he made a mistake. He asked me, what do you think? I said, here we go. So I started showing him how you are not doing these things. You don't know how to be a Christian. You need to be better. And this argument went on for about 1 hour, no kidding. Wow. But because he was so prideful and I wasn't. But he started to wear out, he started to walk away, but then another church member came in and sat down with us, and he went a different route with me. He said, well, tell me about your church background. So I started sharing about the church I was going to, and little did I know, he actually came from that same background. So he started showing me and helping me see that, you know what, you're lying because that church never taught these things you're talking about you doing. He got my attention. So I continued to study the Bible with him. At one point within our studies, they mentioned how, this is interesting, how the next woman that they would ever be intimate with would be their wife, because they would show her the respect that she deserves. And I'm thinking, man, how do I get that power? So to find out, I kept on studying the Bible. So as we continued to study the Bible, it happened. That conversation about my girlfriend. Derek, if you want to continue to study the Bible, your relationship with your girlfriend is unhealthy. You need to break up with her. Here we go, deja vu, right? After a long discussion, going back and forth about it, I finally realized, you know what, they were right. It needs to happen. So we went ahead and we decided to go do it that night. So we went to her campus dorm where she was, in the campus where she was, living in a dorm, and they said, okay, well, let's go talk to her. But they decided to go talk to other members of the church that lived on the campus and said, go do it on your own. Yeah. Wait a minute now, hold on. You want me to go talk on my own? Yeah, go do it. Okay. And of course, you know what happened. We got intimate again. But when I came back to the guys, they asked me, so how'd it go? You know what I did? It went great, guys. It was great. I did invite her to church. She did come out, but it was not right. A few nights later, we had a schedule to meet with one of the campus leaders, a campus minister, and we're going to look over what is called the depiction of Jesus going to the cross. If you've ever seen the Passion of Christ movie, it's very similar to that one. And it was a long day at work for me, and when they picked me up, I was exhausted. So we went there, we sat down, watching the movie, had that whole background music going on, and I got to tell you, I dozed off. I fell asleep. But it was over. The campus minister comes back out, sits down with me and says, so what do you think? I wasn't going to tell him I fell asleep. So I came up with something I thought they wanted to hear. I said, man, guys, I'm speechless. And let me tell you, he was not happy with that because the whole time he was standing behind me watching me sleep. So he began to talk to me and said, you know what? I don't think you're serious about your relationship with God. You're sitting here lying to me in my house. All we're trying to do is help you understand who Jesus really was rather than what you think he is. And he was like, I'm so disappointed. You know, you just need to leave. I'm like, excuse me? So in my pride, I'm like, are you asking me to leave your house? Like I didn't hear him, right? He said, yes, get out. That's okay, fine, I'm leaving. So I started walking out to the door. But then I realized, wait a minute, I didn't drive. So I started calculating how much money I had in my pocket to see if I have enough to get home. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking about, right? So at that time, he stopped me and started sharing some things with me and helped me see, you know what, we love you, want to help you. He said some great encouraging words that honestly broke me down to tears. And I said, you know, we got a lot to talk about, guys. So we went back to one of the other guys' houses and we discussed some things. And I shared with them what really happened that night we went to the campus with my girlfriend's dorm. And I apologized to them. And we prayed together. And I apologized to God. And then I called my girlfriend. I apologized to her. And then we discussed breaking up. I mean, she was about to start studying the Bible anyway, so it was a great time to just break up and end it off. And a few days later, May 11th, 1994, I was baptized into Christ. You know, after all this time, I realized that I'm not here based on my faithfulness to God, but more of his faithfulness to me. He has blessed me with a great community of family of the church here and around the world. And out of this community, he even blessed me with my beautiful wife, Dara. We've been together 19 years, and God has been great, and he's also blessed me with an 11-year-old son who is amazing. I know that I'm a man loved by God unconditionally. Thank you.